Welcome to Focus Friday, brought to you by Mapex and Majestic Percussion. My name is John Harville, and as always, it's just a super pleasure to be here and talking to all these wonderful educators that we're talking to all around the country. Guys, we know that we would all have loved to be out in the parking lot at Dayton and certainly starting to see some of that early season footage coming out from DCI, and we just miss that. We do too. But we are very thankful to all of the guests that have participated in Focus Friday. Special thanks to Dave Natal with his video series. My next guest has been flying the Mapex colors for years and years. He's such a dear guy and a good friend that we've become over the past year, and I think you're going to love getting to know more about him. He does wonderful works with ensembles out in California. So I'm happy to be joined by Sean Cunningham. Sean, thanks for stopping in. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing really well, man. Just happy to be talking to you again. It's been a minute, hasn't it?
Yeah. All this weirdness going on. It takes us away for a while.
Yeah, I haven't seen you in person since WGICon, and that was like last fall, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Something like that. That
Yeah.
was a good time.
That was
Uh, that was a lot of fun, and I was certainly looking forward more to seeing you in Dayton. I was on my way to California. You were supposed to pick me up from the airport, and
that's right. That's right.
I was gonna come through L.A. I'd never been to LA, and you said I'll get you,
That's
and
right.
then we lost that trip at like the week before, and I was just so bummed out.
I was hoping they'd stretch it for a week so you come out here and get stuck.
Just-
You have to hang out with us no matter what.
that would be cool, but I don't think it would go over well at home.
No. No.
The wife would be a little bit like, oh, or she may just say, hey, that's not so bad. It's nice to, it's nice to have a little
Just
breathing
bring her
room.
out here too.
She can come out here. Yeah, the
There you go.
boys, the boys, they can stay back. What have you been doing with a little bit of this um, extra time? Now I know that things in your industry hasn't slowed down, but have you had some extra time to do some other things?
Yeah. My daughter is home from college, so that was kind of a new thing, and we're really enjoying having her around. And I've done a little camping, been up to Big Bear a few times, just kind of decompressing and just kind of laying low, but in the background, getting things done.
Right, right. Yeah, I know that it certainly would be. We've made the best out of some of these, but I miss being that kind of busy. You
Me too.
know,
Me
uh,
too. I didn't at first, but now I'm definitely like chomping at the bit a little bit.
yeah, yeah. I was. We were thinking the other day. Kind of thinking back, and we were looking at kind of some of the orders and stuff that we did, and I remember that we got you a nice set of those burley maple burl drums out there too, and we were just so looking forward to seeing it, man, because the videos that were up early in the season, you guys were, Vessel was certainly drumming, and we were sounding great too. Like you guys have
Yeah.
really figured out a great tuning scheme, and so
Yeah. Yeah. The drums sounded great. They looked great. They're beautiful.
yeah. Oh, that was your call. That was
Yeah.
your call. I remember. I was like, I don't know. I mean, yeah. I saw it on a drum set. I was like, yeah, it looks all right because it's not the high lacquer.
Right.
It was
Right.
that matte
Matt.
finish.
Yeah.
Yeah. And when they got in, we took a couple out of the box as we always do. We're excited to see things,
Sure.
and we always do that. And I was like, all
Yeah.
right,
And
that's like,
the flat black with the chrome hardware really made everything kind of pop and
hmm
look really nice. And I picked those because I knew I'd seen it on the Saturn kit, and I thought, man, that'll be a really classy, really nice, sophisticated looking drum, for what we're doing, and timeless. That was important also, picking something that wasn't just show specific. It could be used for so many different things because it was such a classy finish.
Yeah, they were. I was like, kudos to you guys for making that call. There's sometimes that I don't know if that's gonna work, but these we picked them out. I was like, that
Yeah,
works. And
yeah.
man, I would give anything to be back into that situation. Like we had a did FedEx delivered half of your shipment and then took
Uh,
another half, and then we spent like
Somewhere else,
a
and
week.
yeah,
We spent like a week trying to figure out where thousands of dollars of drums were. And now I'm sitting here without the activity. I was telling Devin last week, I was like, dude, I'd give anything just to be in the trying to figure out where stuff is now,
yeah.
as opposed to that. So I can't wait till we get back to it and all the things that you guys have going out there. Can can you tell us a little bit about how you came into the drum business? How did we get to this point?
Sure. It's a funny story. I was very young. I was actually in middle school. I was in eighth grade, and I had moved to a new school, so it was all new people. And I was used to being kind of the big cheese. I was used to being the best drummer at whatever school I was at. Just natural talent, I guess, because I'm definitely lazy. I don't practice. And and all of a sudden there was these other kids that were really good that had rudiments that I'd never even heard of, and could play really well. And of course, I said, where do you guys get this stuff? And they said, we do drum corps. And I'm like, well, keep in mind, I'm from Phoenix, Arizona, and drum corps is, way behind at that point. Thank God for the academy. But they said, yeah, we do this thing. And I was like, okay, I had no idea what I was getting into whatsoever. No idea what I was getting into. I just wanted to be a better drummer. And so I went and I marched my first year of DCI before I was even in high school. They couldn't even find pants that would stay on my butt. I was just a little kid, and that drew me in. And I marched a little corps in Arizona for a couple of years, and then
Was
that corps
was
folded.
that Tar Heel Sun, maybe?
Arizona Musketeers.
Arizona Musketeers. Okay, okay.
Yep, yep,
I,
really old. 85, 86, 87.
wait, Tar Heel Sun. That's not Arizona.
I think
That's
that's Florida,
or North Carolina. One of the two.
something like
Anyway,
that. Yeah.
I think Suns. And anyways,
Yeah.
keep going.
Oh,
That's it.
Arizona Sun. That's what you're.
Arizona Sun. That's it. That's it. Okay.
They were the next generation after Arizona Musketeers.
Got it.
When Arizona Musketeers folded, we came out here to California and we marched Velvet Knights, the original world class Velvet Knights, and so that was my introduction into the marching community at a higher level. I marched with some amazing people like Pete Sappinen and John Watley, and a bunch of Bobby Hoffman was in charge of the program at that point. So that was when Velvet Knights was. And at the end of this, I'll give you a little secret that only the select, really inner circle know, and I'll let the world know about it at the end of this. Kind of funny,
All
but
right.
yeah. So that's how I got into it, and then years. I got married. Actually, I played drum set and played in some bands that toured nationally, and were putting out records, and I did that stint for a little while. Kind of got away from marching, and then I got married, and we all know the changes of life when you get married and start having kids and buying houses. And I just got away from the activity. And when I got divorced, my kids were a little bit older, and I missed it so much. And I just kind of stumbled onto this little tiny school out in the middle of nowhere in Arizona, and had probably the best 5 years of teaching and working with some of the best people of my life. And that's a little school called Casa Grande High School. There's a band director out there, Martin Hebda, just an amazing human being, and runs an amazing band program. And that was like my gateway, because we got Casa Grande High School into Scholastic A finals our first attempt, and
Nice.
at a national level. And we worked really hard at that. And I moved to California in 2000, 2010, 2009,
Okay.
somewhere in there, 2009 maybe, and went to work in drum corps right away. Went to work with the new incarnation of Velvet Knights, and that led into indoor. out here, exploring the indoor scene, and kind of took a look around at things and just thought, well, I think I could do this. I know it'll be hard, but I think I can do this, and I think I can do with the right focuses. Giving the kids a great experience and giving staff people a place where they want to work and teach and stay, and really grow some roots. And we did it, and here we are. 11 years later or whatever.
Right. Still going strong.
Trying,
Yeah.
trying. Yeah,
I think so. I mean, when I want to know what's going on in California, I always call up either our own Sarah or
yeah.
I'll call you.
There you go.
Because, like I said, I don't think I've ever seen you without a Mapex gear on, and all the time,
Always, brother. Always repping.
always repping, man. So we're just happy to have you out there and doing that. Um, Tell us a little bit about the organizations that you. So you get out there into California and you start a couple things and massive success. How does one? And this is kind of what we're going to get to. Sean is a great marketing and brand guy. And when I was down in New Orleans at WGI Con, he just did this wonderful whole presentation about branding. And I said, this has got to get to a bigger audience. And I'm really excited to get into that. But all the things that you've done out in California, can you tell us a little bit about that journey?
Sure. What a journey it's been. When I started Orange County Independent in 2010-ish, 2011-ish, and I did it with just a few friends. People that I considered friend. People you would have beer and a barbecue with, or we I wasn't in search of the biggest names, and it wasn't about any of that. It was just about having fun with friends and putting on a little show. And we actually, our first year, we competed in both American Drumline Association and SCPA. And in American Drumline Association, we were world class, and in SCPA, we were open class. And we specifically did as a marketing, specifically for marketing. There's tons of young talent in that circuit. There's hundreds and hundreds of programs in that circuit, and we didn't. It wasn't an ego thing. We didn't necessarily think we were super great, but we knew we were going to go into world class. And at that time, ADLA had PCC competing in world class and some other good programs, and we won the gold medal in world, and we did really well in SCPA. And so after that year was over, I took a look at things because I did a lot. I wrote, I taught, I did staging. I mean, it was like a 4-guy show, 4 people pretty much doing everything. And I knew I'm not that talented. I'm just not that good. I can't write well at all. I'm just not the guy for that. And I felt like running things and the organizational things was more important, and I was better at that. So, little tidbit: when I was in the Anaheim Velvet Knights, you got to remember that I marched in Arizona, and Arizona is considerably behind California in terms of talent and skill and everything else. And so when I wanted to expand and wanted to get stronger and better, there was one person who, when I was in Velvet Knights, really spent a lot of time with me on the truck, on breaks and at lunch and dinner breaks and everything else. And we grab pads and play and do our thing. And that was Pete Sappinen. Taught me a lot. And
Nice.
so he was the first guy that I went to and said, I want you to make my drumline better. And boy, from there on out, there was no looking back. We went to WGI that next year, and we won a bronze medal our first year to WGI. The second year, we came out even stronger. There was all kinds of buzz in our local circuit SCPA about us getting bumped to world. I remember Mark Branson, Mark coming up to us in the lot. Mark, of course, from Remo, And he looks at me and he goes, "Man, what are you guys trying to do? You trying to get bumped in the world?" You know, and we were like, "No, we're just trying to be good."
Right.
And we went to Dayton. You know, we dominated open class in California for the second year, and then we went to Dayton, and this time we won the silver medal. We had won prelims, and it was us, Capital City, and Atlantic Quest, just head to head. Those great programs. You know, we were hanging, and we couldn't believe, you know, that we were in such awesome company doing what we were doing. And the next year, I felt like we needed to keep growing, keep upgrading, keep doing our thing. We had all this momentum behind us. And along comes my buddy Roger Carter. And so I definitely wanted to have Roger involved in my program. He's a great friend, a very awesome guy. He's just so much fun to work with. And he says, "Well, you know, I can teach kids to play clean snare drum, but who's going to design your show?" And I'll never forget this. I looked at him and I said, you're Roger Carter. And he's like, no, I don't do that. I do this. If you want this, you need Mike Jackson. And so here comes Mike Jackson, and along with Mike comes Brian Dinkle. And now we're in a different world. We're starting to bring in these guys that are just iconic in the activity, just brilliant-minded people. And we bumped to World. We self-promoted into World based on the climate here in Southern California. And we struggled a little bit. But I was also our first year with Mapex. And we would have never been able to compete at a world level without the equipment that we had secured through Mapex and the support that Mapex had, you know, the old KHS organization had given us. So we go into world class, and we made finals our first year in world. And we came back in 15 with kind of an iconic show. I mean, people still talk about the Bloom show. Just a magical, beautifully written show. We had brought in Kevin Shaw at that point. You know, Brian Dinkle he's awesome, and there was certainly nothing subpar about the work that he did, but he's focused on Blue Devils and doing his thing. Mm-hmm. So we brought in Kevin Shaw. You know, what can I say? Just an amazing human being. And we did Bloom. But Bloom, for some reason, didn't do as well in Dayton as we had expected. We really thought that we were way stronger. We placed way higher in prelims, and the show did not make finals. And it was a bit of a surprise to all of us at that time, but it's okay. We came home and we kind of regrouped, and people in our area, you know, California, I think, is a little different from the rest of the country. California's got I mean, think about it. There's 6 world-class, competitive, world-class independent groups within 25 miles of here. I mean,
that's something we've talked about before.
Yeah.
You know, we compared regions, and
yeah, it's very, very difficult out here in a good way. You know, those groups.
Oh yeah.
You know, your Pulses and RCCs and Dark Skies and even POW and everybody else. I mean, these are amazing organizations that just do amazing work year after year after year.
And that's the same for the high schools in that area.
Yeah, Chino Hills, Ayala.
Chino Hills and Ayala right there, you know, throwing baseball back and forth, you know, and then all the other high schools in that area too. You can just go by and look at the video. It's like, dude, I don't know what's in the water out there, but give me some.
Yeah, exactly. So we've, you know, I don't know, the sun lined up right with the moon and the tide was perfect, and I don't know. But in 2016, we just found ourselves with a lot more talent than we had ever had before. We were starting to pull membership that had the same type of strength that your Pulse and RCC membership had. Maybe not as many at that point, but we were starting to draw them in. And so when you have that kind of talent, you have Mike and the designers have the ability to design at that level and pretty much do whatever they want to do, you know, visually and musically. And so, boom, 2016, we shot way up and bronze medaled, and there was no looking back for that group. But in the meantime, uh, dial it back to 2015 when WGI said they wanted to do wins. I wanted to be on the forefront of the activity in terms of wins. I wanted to make sure that wins did not turn into indoor marching band. I wanted to make sure that we had an influence on that uh, that genre of the activity. And so we did wins in 2015 and 16. And in 2015, we won the silver medal the first year out, and we were second only to Rhythm X wins. Um,
Not
and
bad.
we did, of course, we had Brent Rosenbaum and KHS's support with the Jupiter horns, and
Right.
just had a blast. And it mixed in between there, we've done different things. We've brought Orange County Independent back in to the scene as an open class group. In fact, there's history with Vessel there that I'll explain. We've had Odyssey, which is kind of like our feeder group, like our development group that came out, and it was meant to be an A-class group, and it immediately went into open because they were ready for that. So we've had multiple open class percussion. We've had world-class winds. We've had world-class, independent percussion. We've had all of that. More specifically, I think to the conversation is in 2017, we brought Orange County Independent back onto the scene with a really strong young staff, and they shot up to fifth place their first year at WGI. And so we made the call that the following year, 18, we would bump in the world, try to go head to head with the world-class folks around here. And we also made the decision to change the name to Vessel. It just felt right. It was a cool name. It fit the staff. It fit everything. So hence, that's where Vessel came from the roots of a really strong Orange County Independent. So all of these groups, all of this activity, all these medals and accolades and everything, it really all spawns from the original Orange County Independent.
Right.
So
Yeah,
that's
and we've talked about the mission statement of Orange County, and just that it's what you have built it for, and you just
yeah,
it's this is the reason it's built, and if I know you, it'll still take off, and just like everything does, it seems to be, and
yeah.
I can't wait to see more of it, and like I certainly can't wait to see things in 2021. I don't care anything, just bring somebody to Dayton, and please, for the love of all, have Dayton.
Well, if we want to let the cat out of the bag at this
Hmm.
point, we so the thing that's happening now is the mission, like you talked about, everything about Orange County Independent has always been about family. It's always been about the membership having a great experience. It's always been about the staff enjoying being a part of what we're doing, and building a staff that um, is enjoying themselves and wants to be there because they've got a good environment, they've got the right equipment, they've got the right rehearsal sites, they've got everything. Um, is really important to the success of the group competitively, and it's really important to the development of the membership because they're getting a consistent message and a consistent way of doing things for multiple seasons. Because fortunately, we usually keep people for a few seasons. So with all of the Broken City and Vessel and Winds and Odyssey and all of these Orange County Independent ensembles, we're going to dial it back down in. We're going to get refocused, and we're going to relaunch Orange County Independent Percussion, their original OG group for 2021. And we're going to come out, I believe, in Percussion Independent Open. And we're just going to go back to the roots of developing talent, developing staff, being a family, doing it for the right reasons, enjoying what we're doing and having
Oh, sure.
fun. This is supposed to be fun. If we're not having fun, we're doing something wrong.
Oh,
So
right.
we're going to bring back all those things that are important to us and just enjoy the activity. We're definitely Dayton bound. We will be there representing Mapex Majestic in all of its glory, as we always do. Absolutely. And we're just excited about it. We have some great people that are that have come aboard in terms of staff. Roger Carter and Pete Sappinen being the two main battery guys. I mean, how much horsepower do you need? And
Let everybody pause again right here and just go look those up.
yeah,
Of
yeah,
course, of
yeah,
course, you
just
don't need to. You know.
yeah, amazing people. We brought in Timothy Lee, who is a Broken City age out that grew up with us through Orange County Independent as a tenor guy. He's really excited about being with us. We're bringing back one of our favorite people, Brian Christ, who was with Orange County in the beginning and helped them get through everything in open and then in the world finals. Brian kind of sort of semi-retired and was focused on other parts of life for a while, but has agreed to come back, which is really cool because it's kind of like bringing the old family back in
Right.
that got us off the ground in the first place. So it's just some amazing people. When you talk about building your brand, it's really important to stay focused for us on those original ideologies, because that's what got us everywhere that we ever got. It's also, I think, for people to understand, if you want to talk about the branding, Orange County Independent, that's not the fanciest name. And it wasn't the fanciest logo or any of those things. But with longevity and with people coming into the organization having a great experience, and then whether they age out with us or not, or whether they go on to bigger world groups like at the time Pulse and RCC, and those guys saying great things about their experience, there's no better marketing than that from a membership standpoint. So the name of Orange County Independent became more of just, it's like RCC. RCC, Riverside City College, is not the fanciest name in the world, but who doesn't know that name?
Right.
Orange County is kind of the same, at least here. Maybe not nationally, but here everyone recognizes that name. Everybody has fond memories of what we did and how we did it and how successful we were. So that's really important to the branding, is making sure that original name, that original flavor, it's like chocolate ice cream or vanilla ice cream. It's so rooted that we want to come back to it. That's how strong that is. Some of the other really important things, and of course we can bring up some of the WGI Con stuff, but everything from how you pick your name to the type of marketing that you do. Most everything is done through social media now, so you have to be very, very acute to how social media marketing is done.
Right.
You don't want to underdo it. You don't want to overdo it. You got to really be careful what you say. You always got to walk a real straight line as an organization, because you represent so many people and you represent so many brands.
Right.
When it comes to the branding, you and I know a little history, but branding to me and your sponsors and the people that support you, Orange County Independent would not be here if it weren't for KHS. There's no question about it. And I've worked with other organizations and other sponsors and other things. And the thing that is such a good match about Apex, Majestic, Jupiter, KHS in general, is you guys are such a little family in the way that you approach everything. You guys all talk. Everybody kind of works together. Everybody's right there. And that's how we are. And that principle to me of a mutually beneficial family environment to share is so important to me. and I think to a lot of people. And so, when you're selecting the people that you want to work with, and you're picking your sponsors and hoping that they'll work with you, the marriage between KHS, Apex Majestic Jupiter, and Orange County Independent Ensembles is like one of those marriages that goes 50 years,
Right.
because we're so grateful to have that quality product, but it's not just the product, it's quality people,
Yeah.
all the way back, Chris Hankis, Jeff, Sarah, AK, yourself, Jeff, both Jeffs, all
Yep.
those people are just such amazing people and have been there, that I feel like I could never repay it. So, our plan is that every year that we come out, my organization, we're going to fly those KHS brands, those banners, those flags.
Right.
There's a huge Apex banner hanging right in our semi truck. So when you open the door, it's right there.
Um,
Mapex is predominant on the back of my truck, with the other sponsors. And it's just such an important relationship. It's just
yeah.
such an important thing to building that brand. Because if you're moving all around and you're just, it's not necessarily about who gives you what. It's never ever about that. It's about a symbiotic relationship and a mutually beneficial arrangement, and that's how you build that longevity. That's how you do that.
Right.
And if you can't achieve that, you're going to be bouncing and moving all over the place, and you're not going to have any consistency. And so that consistency with your sponsor is extremely critical. So that's how the sponsorship thing plays into building the brand. The other things are going to be your staff is a big part of how you build your brand. Making sure that you have the right staff and making sure that they're all behind playing the quality instruments that you've been able to secure through your sponsorship. I've seen problems with that in the past. I've seen people that they're about a certain brand and the organization's about this other brand, and they can't seem to find common ground. And
Right.
let it be known, Orange County Independent is Mapex and will be Mapex until Mapex tells us to go away. And
I don't think that'll happen.
having everybody aligned with that in terms of your staff and your kids, and making sure that in everything that we do publicly, we have to tie in, not just Mapex Majestic, but the good folks at Remo, the good folks at Remo Zildjian. All those
Great.
brands are super, super important to us. So that's building the brand for me in terms of sponsors and gear.
Yeah, I know that Chris, as we were getting ready to go, as I was getting ready to fly down to New Orleans last fall, I said, make sure you swing by and get some time to see Sean's seminar. I was like, yeah, absolutely. I already got it on my schedule. And, Chris, and Jeff, like those guys, it's exactly what you said. They will bend over backwards and they will do whatever they can. They will come in the last hour and say, you know what we need to do? And I know when they say it, I'm like, it's going to be a long night, or it's gonna, but it all pays off in the end. But they said, make sure you get a chance to hang out with Sean. And that was when we met. We had only emailed back and forth, but we got down there and it was like that. We sat there in that little ballroom C or whatever, and we just sat there and chatted for hours.
Yeah,
And
we talked about family and kids, and
took a break, and then we all went out to eat and
yeah,
sat around for longer.
that's
And that was just, like I said, I think likewise, it's always such a great thing to partner with such great people and great educators. And it's not always about who's got the score and going after that thing, but just all that comes, but just like the quality of the
yeah,
people that you do partner with. And I think that's something that everybody can take away. What Sean's talking about is kind of how you reciprocate that relationship and see to make sure that that is a two-way street.
yeah. I'll never forget. I was having a conversation with Chris Hankins, and this is a long time ago.
And it's
And,
always an adventure because you never
and
know where it's going to go.
yeah, and I was fairly new to everything. I was learning new stuff just constantly, and I asked Chris why Mapex supported a certain group that I felt, and of course this is silly. Now I look back at it and I'm like, silly Sean. I didn't think they were worthy competitively. And yeah, that sounds really harsh, and it was really immature way to look at it. And Chris kind of did the big brother thing, and he put his hand on my shoulder and he said, he goes, you don't know anything about the history of that group and where that group came from and why those guys exist and what they're doing.
Hmm.
And what they're doing is what we believe in, and so we're going to support them. And he explained it all, and it was one of the biggest lessons about this activity, especially pertaining to Mapex, that I ever learned. And I thought I would much rather Mapex want to be a part of what we're doing for those reasons than any medal or trophy we ever won. Those
Mm-hmm.
are so insignificant on the grand scheme of things. It's
Mm.
fun to be good. It's fun to win. It's
For
fun
sure.
to get those accolades, but I'd much rather have a crystal ball that told me I was going to be around for another 10 successful years than to be guaranteed any championship ever, you
Right.
know. And that really, Chris didn't have to do that. He didn't have to spend that time. He didn't have to share those lessons with me. He did. And I don't think there's a lot of that going around very often, which I really appreciated that.
Right. You brought up uh, you brought up so many great points when we were down at WGICon. And I shared with you. I was like, yeah, that's I went back and got another like marketing degree just a few years ago. So we were just kind of nerding out. I was like in your seminar, like, mm-hmm, yeah, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you talked a lot. You just hit on a bunch of different things about the branding of an ensemble and how to speak forth. And you just talked a little bit ago about social media. And I love this point that you brought up. You said, I don't ever say or email or do anything without running it through a filter of a couple other people.
That's
And I was
correct.
like, that's it.
Yeah.
Because how many
Yeah.
of us have just like, you said what?
Yep.
We get in there and then we just get into trouble. And that was
Yeah.
one of the things, especially in today's today's world. You really need to make sure is this kind of okay. And I
Yeah.
thought it
You
was
have.
really cool that you
Yeah.
let people say it's okay to think you're not a one man show.
Yeah. You definitely, if you're a very I'm a very alpha personality. And I know lots of people that are in this activity, but if you think that you can do this on your own, that you can do this without the guidance and help of other very smart people, you're very mistaken. And I think it's incredibly important that you understand that anything that you say, you can't take it back. Once it's out there, it's out there. Even if you delete it, it's still out there. And you have to be very careful about what you say and how you say it and who you say it to, because you not only represent yourself, you represent all those people that work within your organization, and you represent generations upon generations over the past 11 years of all these people that ever came through any one of your programs, regardless. And so imagine the effect that you have on all those people if you say or do the wrong thing. And I'm not suggesting that we don't ever make a mistake, but think about it. If I've got something to say, if we need to say something or do something, if we run it through some really brilliant minds, 3 or 4 sets of eyes and ears that can help tweak or modify or hone that message to what it's really supposed to be, not 99% of the time, you're going to come out okay, because enough good minds, we all have great people that work for us. All great people do this activity, so why not use them for everything that you can? So never act alone, always use your filters. It's a very sensitive world out there right now. I've learned some hard lessons. I didn't know any better than anybody else when I got going, and sometimes I still don't. But you have to be careful, and you also represent the sponsors, and you represent WGI or DCI. You represent all of this every time you open your mouth,
Yeah,
and we've seen the destruction, in different organizations, and just seen people just absolutely devastated, because we this is definitely a passion art. We do this because we're passionate about this activity that we do, and so we get worked up and we get fired up and we want to say what we want to say, and I'm the first to feel that way. Trust me.
yep.
But you got to be really careful. You got to be really careful.
Yeah, you said down there, and I remember it said this the organization and everything's more important than just kind of this one message. And I remember that. I was like, wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, when
yeah,
you venture
because
outside of just, like, hey, the rehearsal sites move from here to here and you get into something else, it's a good thing to run it through a couple different ears.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and I tell me a little bit the way you talked about some of the things that we don't even think about in terms of like support gear, as terms of the sous vide booth, the truck, the instruments, all that. You made it. You took like things that maybe we take for granted and just kind of,
We,
but you
we
really put an important light on it.
yeah, we do take a lot of things for granted, and I think it is, as leaders, if you're running your own organization or you're thinking about running your own organization, maybe you even run an organization and you're super successful. Um, because of the nature of this activity, there's also a lot of scrutiny, and because we have young people involved in this activity, so we have to be really careful about how we're perceived. Just like any other company, just like, if you're starting a restaurant, how do you want to be perceived? If you're starting if you're going to open a music store, well, how do you want to be perceived as that music store? So little things like a truck. If your truck is disorganized, if you roll into the lots at the shows and you open the door and there's things falling out, I remember when I marched in Velvet Nights, so there's going to be some people who laugh at this one. If you grounded yourself while climbing in and out of that trailer, you got shocked. You got zapped because the trailer was in such poor condition. Uh, you know, you want everything that has your name, everything that is a example of who you are, which is anything that has your name on it plus some. You want to think about how you're representing that. Is your truck clean and organized? Does it function right? When you open the side panel on your trailer or your truck or whatever it is you're using, does it halfway fall off its hinges? We've all seen things like that. Your gear, your equipment. We're not all fortunate enough to have all of the nicest, newest stuff all the time. That's just not really that possible. So sometimes we're working with gear that's got a couple years on it. Sometimes we are fortunate we have brand new gear next to 4-year-old gear. How you take care of your gear and how it is used in a public forum, like the lot. The lot's one of the biggest advertisements for your group that you could possibly imagine. I know all you guys out there know that, but if your gear is in good condition, if you cover your keyboards until they're ready to be played, if you keep your covers on your drums until you're ready to go out in public, and you unwrap all this stuff in front of all these kids ready to watch your lot or whatever, people take notice. Members that could be with the group down the road might look at you and go, wow, their gear's nice, their truck's nice, their uniforms aren't dirty and stinky. I'm going to go to that group next year. Well, folks, think about it. Each one of the members that is a customer, and they're a paying customer, the more membership you have that pays their bill, pays their dues to be a part of your organization, the more money you have to work with to better the group, to strengthen the group. So think about how you are being perceived out there in our little world. All of those things, merchandising. I think that our organization really took merchandising to a completely different level. We
Yes.
built a custom booth that didn't use any standard clothing or merchandising equipment in any way.
Yes.
All of our anything that we sell, anything that we did, filtered through Mike Jackson and Kevin Shaw and other people to make sure that our branding was consistent and it looked good and it fit what we were doing. Same thing with Vessels. Same thing with Orange County Independent. We have to make sure that those merchandise booths, anybody can go out there and throw up a folding table and put a black sheet over it underneath an easy up and put their goods out on a table and ask $10 for a t-shirt. But when you've got something very different, we were very strategic when we designed our booth. We didn't have any parameters. We didn't have any limitations where people were kept on the outside of our booth. We used a rug. We put a 10-foot by 10-foot rug down and invited people onto the rug, come into our little home here. And we sold boatloads of merchandise, both Vessel and Broken City, because of how we designed those merchandise booths. So those things can be very, very, very important. Things like, what are the kids going to wear as half uniform? If they have their pants on before they put the tops on, what are they wearing? Is it a shirt with your logo, with your name on it? Is it a sponsor? What is it going to be? Everybody should look the same and everybody should be uniform, and it should send a message. If we're going to be in the lot and we're going to be wearing an Orange County Independent shirt, there you go. But we're going to have the Mapex logo somewhere on there, and we're going to have the Vic Zildjian logo somewhere on there. Mm-hmm. We're going to let people know these are our partners. These are the people we use. Send that message out there that you have it together. You're supporting your sponsors. Your kids know exactly what they should look like. Your truck is dialed in. Your souvenir booth is dialed in. Orange County Independence merchandise booth for 2021 will be every bit world class, regardless of the division that they're competing in.
Right.
We will do that up like we own the place, because people will get curious and they will come to the booth. And even if they don't buy anything, they will know who we are.
Yeah, it always seemed, and we got an example. I saw the booth last year, and it was like one that was just kind of taken out of the whole experience, and it was just its own unique thing. It was very independent of everything else. Yes. And I like what you said, that you took the shirts and things and ran those through other opinions of the staff. Not just the social media thing, but the merchandise.
We literally went to Adam Watts, who is the voice behind a lot of the music that we've used over the years. He's a good friend of Mike Jackson's. They came through Mission Viejo together. Everybody remembers Mission Viejo ruling
terrific program.
Scholastic World for so many years. A lot of that is his vibe and his feel. We would run everything through him. Hey, Adam, what do you think of this? And if it eliminated so many things that could have been a potential mistake, and really kept us focused on our brand and what we want to look like and what we want to feel like. And you got to admit, when you see that booth for the first time, you're like, whoa, that's way different than anybody else has got going on.
It was a different experience in a kind of a land of similar.
Yeah.
I'd say. And I think probably, in layman's terms, you take the amount of scrutiny that we put in this, in all of this, and you apply it to the truck, the website, the getting from the truck to the warm up lot.
Yes.
It just sounds like you're saying you got to work a little harder, but it's worth
Yep.
it. And you're right. If I see a group pull up and they fling open the back doors and everything falls out, I know that
Uh-oh.
I'm probably gonna go and grab back inside and grab
Go grab a soda
an
and wait for the next.
overpriced burger and just wait until the next somebody gets back out in the lot,
Yeah. Yeah.
But I love that, and for me, it was great to hear that again.
Yeah.
The amount of just the scrutiny, but the attention to detail that goes a
It's
long way.
hard. It's hard, and we're definitely not perfect. Uh, but we try really hard all the time. It just takes constant effort. If you get tired, if you I don't know if burned out's the right word, but when the going gets tough with working that hard, just remember everybody what it feels like to be going out on the floor at championships, whether you're first or 50th, it doesn't matter. Remember what that feels like. Remember what it's like to be walking, in the arena, and you have no idea who this person is. You've never seen them in your life,
Right.
and they got 3 or 4 of your items from your merch booth: a hat, a shirt, socks. Like we also, that's another thing. We also did some really, I thought, unique things. I've never seen anybody sell their own brand socks. You know, we did our own socks with our own logo on the socks, and man, we could not get those things in stock fast enough. I mean, we were selling $15 pairs of socks like nobody's business because no one else did that. So we try to be unique. We did flannels. The whole
Yeah.
flannel thing kind of sort of went well with our motif, and we did our own flannels and had them embroidered, and people paid top dollar for that, and we could not keep them on the rack.
Yep.
So,
I remember those, and
yeah.
there could be a little bit of coordination here with what I wore today for getting ready for this, because
Oh, there you go.
when you passed one around, I think no, I gave it to the lady when we were down at WGI Con.
Yeah.
She had a daughter. I
Yep.
remember she said she had a daughter, and she had won one of your other shirts, and I had gotten one, and I said, "Nah, she's got a. Otherwise, I'd be sporting that right now."
Yeah. Well, we're gonna do the same thing, 2021 with Orange County, and definitely when we see the Mapex group, we'll have some special stuff for you guys for sure.
Long torso, all right, XLT. I'm long
Oh,
in the thorax. I'm long in the thorax, is what I'm
I'm
saying.
XL in the width.
I'm growing that way too now.
A little more every year too, brother. Let me
No
tell you,
kidding.
Mel's gray hair.
Oh, I was
Here's your
talking.
mark.
I was talking to Devin about that the other week. Yeah, I imagine that some of you guys have put a little bit of that in, but it's a welcome thing. So, man, awesome stuff, like real world application stuff that everybody can take. I hope that everybody can take all that, as important as it is, and just that stuff right there can just really kind of start up in the game, um, all over. But I also wanted to ask, so. All right, first of all, what was you said you're gonna, the secret to the world? Was that from, but it was like from a VK time. What was that earlier?
Oh,
I wrote it down. I wrote it down. I don't do these anymore without taking notes because I
there you
have
go.
on the
So you were going to ask a question that something about me that no one would ever know,
That's
right?
what I want to know. Yeah.
Okay.
What would people be surprised to know about Mr. Sean Cunningham that they may not already know?
So in 1988, my first year in Velvet Nights, I want to kind of tell a little bit of the story how I ended up in Velvet Nights. Nights.
Uh-huh.
When my little drum corps, my little silly drum corps in Arizona folded, um, I had no idea what being in world class drum corps meant. I had no idea how actually far behind my skill set was compared to these Arizona or these California guys. I was a clueless little 16-year-old kid, and uh, at the time I was dating a girl whose older sister had already marched in Velvet Nights, and they're already very tied into the drum corps world. And so she she was being brought over here to California to basically take a guard spot in the Anaheim Velvet Nights. And for those of you that remember the 1988 Magical Mystery Tour show, because I think that's probably the most famous VK show ever. It was definitely their highest placement. We tied Phantom Regiment that year. That was a really strong Velvet
Oh,
Nights year.
dude. And that was
Yeah.
with all the bass drums around the front and
Yep.
that,
Shot drums.
oh, golly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the in the drum solo, the drum section gets broken up into two sections, and there's a drum major that does a chant, and then they play. And while they're playing, there's a guard member with a sword and a shield, and everybody remembers both those guard girls, but the blonde one was mine. It was her. Yeah, it was her family that brought me out to Velvet Night to the rehearsal, and I'll never forget this. They were out at Coachella High School, and Matt Savage was the caption head, and I was leaning up against the pole, just in awe, of 9 or 10 snare drums and 5 quads and 6 bass drums, and oh, by the way, Mike Jackson was in that line.
Oh, no way. Okay.
Yeah, and I was just in total awe. I was merely a spectator. And so they took a little break, and Matt Savage turns. And of course, I got the long hair, and I got my little triplet earrings dangly earrings from this is 88.
You're just rocking. It's all good.
Yeah. And Matt Savage turns around and he says, "Who are you?" And I said, "Oh, I'm Sean. My girlfriend's gonna be in the guard. We're from Arizona." And he's like, "Oh, you play?" And I said, "Yeah, I was center snare for my drum corps back in Arizona." I meant that statement as a very my little thing in Arizona, I can't compare to what's going on out here. Well, that whole battery went, "Oh, Mr. Center Snare guy, badass guy." Like they took it the complete opposite direction of what I meant. And so Matt Savage says, "Well, let's play." And I was like, yeah, okay. And we did something like some triplet diddle type stuff or something, not too difficult. But again, I don't know what it's like to play with guys like that. So he tells me, "I can't give you a snare spot." And I'm thinking to myself, well, duh. Of course you can't. I didn't come here.
I wouldn't give me a snare spot.
Yeah. And
We're on the same page.
Yeah. He said, "But we got these couple little things that we need done in the show. We're doing this Beatles Magical Mystery Tour, so we're going to travel the world. And we're going to play music from different parts of the world. We need a few things done. If you'll do these things, I will write you into the drum book. I will get you into percussion whenever I can." Well, the big job that they wanted me to do was, do you remember the bullfight scene?
Yes.
When the bull comes out from behind and fights the matador, and
Right.
they eventually knock the matador down, and the bull walks up and hikes its leg on the matador. I'm the ass end of the bull. That's my claim to fame. That's my drum corps claim to fame. The price I paid to do some concert bass drum and gong hits.
That man. So, but you know what? That's funny how it all comes full circle because I taught at a high school for a long time called Father Ryan that was also kind of known as like we don't take our.
What was that show with the helmets in the space and they rolled and they fell off the back and
don't try this at home. Yeah.
Oh my God. I was in the stands for that show. I will never forget that moment.
That was that was certainly a highlight for us as probably me and my whole 25 years of the NWGI and there's a gentleman here that taught here with Nick Milliner and the Schletzers and all those guys, Miss David England, all those guys. certainly had a great time. But we also did a thing back in 2007, and we had some horsemen bass drums that also were. What do you call that when you're half horse and half person?
Oh, what is that called?
The,
I know what you're talking about.
whatever
I
that
can't remember.
was, but we had watched that video of apparently now I know it's you. I didn't know that of Velvet Nights, so we totally ripped that off. We ripped off your ass end of the horse. That's awesome.
So, little trivia: the kid that was in the front of that costume was the little brother of the top bass drummer.
Uh
His name was Garth. That's all I remember. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Mike Jackson played bass six.
Holy crap!
I think. I'm pretty sure.
And
He
that
was
was
in that bass line.
back when they go down to 32s,
Oh yeah, like cutting
stuff like
holes
that,
and bass
cutting
drum
the holes
fills.
so you can see. And
Yeah.
I, oh my god, I one day we'll all just have to get around with some of us older guys, and the bass drums that used to have the rear view mirrors on.
Oh yeah.
I encourage all the young guys. Y'all could probably, yes, you can drum circles around what we could do, but as far as some of the things that we used to do, hilarious and awesome.
Bass line. Top. Name your top bass drum line from the '80s.
86 Suncoast.
Yes, Suncoast Sound.
Yep,
Absolutely. Best bass line in DCI, I think.
yep,
Yeah,
yep.
Suncoast Sound.
Killing it with the gloves, and those guys always used to just chew on the strap. Oh man,
Yeah,
yeah, absolutely. I encourage
yeah.
everybody to be a true connoisseur of the marching arts thing. Go back into history.
Yeah, go
And
watch
when
some
we,
old 27th Lancers drum lines.
oh,
Some of that old good stuff. Those guys could play. I mean, they're not playing what we're playing now, and it was a different type of demand back then. I wouldn't say that it was easier, just different.
mm-hmm,
But yeah,
for
pretty
sure.
amazing. Pretty amazing. I have uh, because we would go to DCI every year in the Arizona Musketeers, and back then it was called Class A60, which
Uh
meant
huh.
your group corps had to have less than 60 members. So even if we made finals, I think in '86, and that's when they took, I think, 7 Class A groups and 5 Class A60 groups on Tuesday night. And if you got through that, you were done for the week. And then all day Wednesday was I&E, and
Yep.
that was back in the day when there were 75 snare drummers. They
Yep.
went all day long. It was an amazing day.
Yep.
And then, of course, quarterfinals, semis, and finals for open class, which is now world. But I got to sit in the stands starting on Thursday and watch everything all day long. And I remember cores like Lay Eclipse, uh, Geneseo Knights, or just the Knights. Like I
Uh
remember
huh.
they did Jesus Christ Superstar one year and just melted people's faces.
Right.
Lay Eclipse with like 15 snares that were just incredibly clean, like crazy stuff that you just would not. Nobody
Yep.
would venture. Like we've morphed into kind of a formula that most people are sticking to and using, and
Yep.
those are good times,
There was a
man.
lot of things, in the '80s that made people a little riskier.
Uh, the stuff people did and the stuff people got away with would never fly today.
Sure.
Like it never would. But
Yep.
it was definitely a lot of, especially man, Velvet Nights. Whoo,
Yeah.
that was a rowdy bunch of people, but definitely fun, and the some of the life lessons learned back then
Mm-hmm.
we're carrying today
Yeah.
and do our thing today, and I'm appreciative of all of it. Even when times weren't the funnest, it was still, you were always learning something. You're always trying to figure something out. I learned how to do my own laundry in drum corps. I learned how to manage my money in drum corps. I learned how to get up on time and be where I needed to be on time without my parents, pulling me out of the bed by the ankles, that type of thing. So
Yeah. It's
yeah.
a good time. Oh man, that was a fun little treat to go back down through that. Thanks so much. Man, thank you so much for taking time to just kind of sit down with us and let us know. And yeah, like like I said, I just hope everybody can go back through and just pick out some of the tidbits. And certainly, I know Sean, if you want to reach back out to him and just ask him some questions about, how to successfully do something for your own percussion ensemble, Sean is just an open book. He is not just trying to his own little he wants kids all over the country to succeed. So please, if you do have questions, find out how to get a hold of him and ask, because I'm sure there's stuff you can take away. We scratched the surface. I
Oh
would love
yeah,
to have a whole day, but we don't have a whole day, and we're just happy to have you for the time that we did. So man, I just want to say thanks for coming in and hanging out with us, Sean.
of course. I can't thank all you folks at KHS for your support and all the things you do for all of us, not just us, but everybody out there. And we can only hope to be able to give that back in as many ways as we can. And we're looking forward to, Orange County Independent coming back in
Yes.
2021, along with all the other good groups doing their things. And look for those beautiful black drums on the floor because it's going to
Oh,
be awesome.
yes, they certainly were, and you can get a snapshot of those on one of those YouTube videos back there. And
There
I
you
don't
go.
know whoever tuned, keep them and tell them to do it again, because I
That's
was even in
that's
that
Mr.
gym they were
Henry
saying
Gillard.
Henry Gillard.
Yeah, Gillard, Henry Gillard.
Somebody book that guy at your place. Just bring him out, learn him,
He's
because
awesome.
he had him singing. So
Yeah,
awesome, Sean. Thanks so much for popping in.
thank you.
Everybody else, thank you for stopping in for another Focus Friday. We're certainly happy to have you here and join us next week. We're going to have Mr. Mike Davis, Freedom Percussion and DCI Judge, and that should be a whole lot of fun. And like I said, Sean, I thank you so much for joining in, and we just wish you well. Wish everybody out there well, and everybody have a safe trip, and take this time to go and practice. All right, be well.